In Hangang's special ward, the awakened licensing bureau shines like a monument to heroes, but Min Daejoon only sees the part left after they leave. He is the night janitor, moving through marble floors, mana residue, and unpaid overtime with a mop cart that has survived more incidents than most staff. When nervous intern Park Ilyun calls him down to B3 for an overflow check, it sounds routine. Annoying, maybe. Dangerous, not yet. B3 already feels wrong. The corridor is wet, the archive door is vibrating, and Ilyun's best explanation is the kind that only works before reality starts misbehaving. Then black droplets rise from the floor instead of falling. Daejoon notices before the intern does, because cleaning work has trained him to read leaks, stains, and bad pressure. He pulls Ilyun back just as the sealed archive erupts outward, turning a basement complaint into a dimensional breach. The room beyond the door is no longer just an archive. Filing cabinets hang in impossible space, black rain climbs upward, and a night maw larva crawls out wearing a split bone mask. Ilyun is caught almost immediately, and Daejoon reacts with the only weapon he has, a mop handle. It breaks. The monster does not. Before that failure becomes fatal, responder Han Sera enters with a lightning baton and the kind of command voice that makes fear move its feet. Sera tries to turn panic into an evacuation, while Daejoon drags Ilyun away from the monster's reach. But the larva is stronger than the reading suggested. It throws Sera into the pipes, dents her armor, and pivots toward the civilians. Daejoon falls, his torn glove exposing his right palm to oily breach residue. In that contact, something private wakes inside him, not as light or sound, but as a hunger that recognizes foreign matter. The first bite is accidental. The floor beneath Daejoon's hand disappears in a perfect crescent, clean enough to be more terrifying than destruction. Then the larva lunges for Ilyun. An instinct makes the choice before Daejoon understands the rule. His bare palm meets the monster's mouth, and the creature folds inward, swallowed into absence instead of killed in any ordinary way. The private system calls it a partial devour. Daejoon only sees ash, shaking fingers, and a problem that has learned his name without speaking it. Sera understands enough to be alarmed, and Ilyun understands enough to start calculating rules that do not exist yet. Daejoon tries to hide his hand behind a bad joke, but the breach core deeper in the archive answers the devouring. It pulls everything loose toward itself, including Ilyun's keycard and Daejoon's cart. Daejoon survives the suction by using the power smaller this time, eating only a narrow strip of floor coating so his fingers can anchor in the tile. The override card vanishes into the breach, taking the cleanest exit plan with it. Above them, two different predators notice the same anomaly. Baek Junmo of Silver Ladder watches from the lobby and sees opportunity in an unregistered awakened asset. Director Kwon sees liability, evidence, and a narrative she needs contained. Her answer is not rescue. She seals B3, cuts the public feed, and leaves Daejoon, Sera, and Ilyun boxed between official shutters and a living breach. Then the system gives Daejoon a quest with a 6-minute death sentence. Claim the core, or become the breach's host body. He does not tell the others everything, but he knows enough. Sera is hurt, Ilyun is shaking, and the exit is gone. So Daejoon wraps his dangerous hand in a wet rag, follows Sera into the collapsed archive, and steps into a room where distance, gravity, and paperwork have all stopped being reliable. Inside the breach, the core is much farther away than the map admits. Ilyun's tablet loops the building into a spiral, while Sera abandons screens and starts testing the path by sound. Daejoon follows carefully, keeping the wrapped palm away from every surface because one careless touch could erase the wrong thing. His private timer keeps falling, and the core beats ahead like it is waiting for him specifically. The breach attacks with bureau material, turning filing cabinets and talismans into blades. Sera blocks the first wave, but one binding paper starts crawling toward Ilyun's ankle. This time, Daejoon does not panic. He names the target in his own head, presses only the ragged edge of his palm to the paper, and removes just enough to stop the spread. Ilyun sees the pattern. Contact, intent, limit. It is illegal, probably, but it is also the only reason he still has both feet. Sera turns that discovery into field procedure. Daejoon is allowed to touch name targets only, and he stops when she says, stop. While the trio learns to survive by inches, Kwon watches corrupted footage from command and classifies the unknown as evidence. Junmo, watching from the lobby, understands the darker part immediately. If Kwon is hiding witnesses, then the Bureau has given Silver Ladder legal leverage. Junmo moves politely, which in his case means dangerously. He files for emergency observer access while the breach twists the path under Daejoon's feet. When a cabinet opens behind him like a mouth, Sera does not ask him to destroy the threat wholesale. She gives him a hinge. Daejoon eats only that hinge, the door shears away, and the same trap becomes a bridge. His power is frightening, but under pressure it can also be precise. They cross the improvised bridge as it folds under them and land close enough to finally see the B3 core clearly. It sits inside a cracked vault, wrapped in black roots and bureau evidence tags, already stamped under Kwan's ownership. That matters. The breach is not only a monster wound, it has absorbed the bureau's custody magic. It has filed the people around it before they can escape being part of the incident. Kwan decides preservation matters more than witnesses. From command, she authorizes remote compression, crushing the warped archive inward to keep the anomaly intact. Sera shields Ilyun as cabinets slam down, while Daejoon is forced toward the core and starts bleeding from the nose. The system warns that something else is trying to claim the same target. To Daejoon, that means his mess now has competition, and every option costs more than he has. Ilyun's fear finally becomes useful. He finds a cached emergency testimony form and submits a local witness record under the casualty exception, naming Sera, himself, and Daejoon as people, not evidence. The legal hold buys only 12 seconds, but 12 seconds is enough for Daejoon. He tears away the rag, exposes the crescent mark on his palm, and reaches for the hollow at the center of the core. Daejoon cannot take the whole core. His reservoir is too small, his body too ordinary, and the breach too large. Instead, a black-violet shard tears free and buries itself in his palm, accepting only a partial claim. Sera and Ilyun drag him back before the room collapses around them. The death sentence is deferred, not cancelled, and the wounded core opens a crooked rear path toward a shutter that should not be reachable from inside. The shard changes the chase. Now the core can pull on Daejoon directly, lashing roots toward his palm as if reeling in its missing piece. Sera keeps her shield between his hand and the breach, while Ilyun hauls him by the vest because dignity has stopped being useful. They run through a crooked archive corridor where normal tile appears and disappears, and the tablet cannot decide whether the exit is close, far, or inside out. The corridor keeps testing their control. Index cards become blades, shelves rotate into floors, and every small threat tempts the shard to feed. Daejoon saves Sera by biting away only the card lodged in her shield, but the system rewards the precision with worse news. The anchor is stabilizing, the reservoir is low, and the appetite now points straight back to the core. Survival is teaching the power discipline, and the power is learning how to want. The pull becomes physical enough to drag Daejoon backward. Ilyun grabs his lanyard. Sera pins the shard hand against the inside of her shield, and together they turn a Bureau ID badge into a lifeline. Ahead, warning tape falls normally, proving there is real corridor beyond the impossible one. They spill out onto wet B3 tile at a rear shutter, only to find the manual crank fouled with black-violet crust. The rear shutter gives them a bureaucratic loophole instead of mercy. It can open under a field casualty exception, with Sera's signature and Daejoon's facilities clearance. Kwan sees the same record from command and tries to reclassify Daejoon before extraction can protect him. Junmo, meanwhile, pressures from the lobby with legal staff at his back. Between command abuse and guild opportunism, the only honest thing in the building is Ilyun's shaking tablet. Sera signs, then makes Daejoon narrow the target again. Crust only, not the crank, not the door, not the building. He obeys. The crescent bite cleans the growth from the mechanism, and Sera forces the shutter up just enough to create a gap. But Kwan overrides the casualty hold with evidence preservation. In her world, saving witnesses is subordinate to owning the anomaly. The shutter drops on Sera's shield, threatening to crush the only barrier keeping them alive. Daejoon sees a devour path, but Sera forces his attention away from the whole door and onto the thin seal strip, causing the override. 2 fingers wide is all he gets. He bites that strip out of existence, and the shutter stops inches above the shield. It is not heroism in Daejoon's mind. It is just refusing to let a bad rule kill someone in front of him. With the seal gone, Sera raises the shutter and orders the crawl through. Ilyun first, Daejoon second, herself last. The breach tries one final grab for the shard, but Daejoon sacrifices the wet rag instead of his hand. Sera dives through after him and the shutter slams down, cutting roots behind them. For one breath, they are back in a normal corridor. Then white-masked containment officers appear ahead, and normal becomes just another kind of trap. Kwan addresses them through the wall monitor and orders Sera to separate from the anomalous witness. Sera refuses the framing. Ilyun raises the accepted local record, hands shaking, insisting Daejoon is still logged as a facilities contractor under survivor protection. The officers lower binding rods anyway, aimed at Daejoon's palm. The shard pulses toward the rods and back toward the shutter roots, and Daejoon realizes 2 different systems are now filing claims on his body. The standoff becomes a custody line. Kwan argues law from the monitor, Sera answers with extraction protocol, and Ilyun clings to the rule that still names Daejoon as a witness. The officers form a white seal ring around the shard, trying to attach bureau custody to the host through his palm. The system offers Daejoon a narrow answer: devour the ring only, pay with reservoir bleed, and avoid touching the people holding it. Sera turns the warning into a rule. Daejoon must name the target out loud and spare the rods and officers. He presses blood-slick fingers to the pinned seal band, and the crescent removes only the magic. The formation snaps apart without injuring the containment team. That restraint matters because Ilyun records it. Kwon responds by changing labels again, converting custody into stabilization and aiming the next warrant through the shard itself. The new warrant is crueler because it does not need to grab Daejoon's body first. It hooks the shard in his palm, turning his own wound into the Bureau's handle. At the same time, the breach behind the shutter pulls the other way. Sera wedges her shield against his forearm. Ilyun grabs the lanyard again, and Daejoon is stretched between Bureau, breach, and the incomplete claim he still has over himself. The system names the situation plainly. Bureau wants the host, the breach wants the shard, and Daejoon's own claim is unfinished. Severing both foreign claims will cost almost everything he has left. He plants his palm on the tile between Sera's boots and creates a coin-thin devouring circle. It clips only the white arcs and the violet pressure line. The backlash buckles the shutter, but Daejoon stops being pulled apart, and upstairs, Junmo's observer injunction finally lands. Kwon loses ground on two fronts at once. Silver Ladder has legal access, and the rear seal is failing. She answers by ordering host extraction through shaft 7. Daejoon's reservoir drops to 4%, barely enough for one more miracle and probably not enough for a clean one. A violet crack opens along the floor toward his abandoned mop cart. Sera gets him moving. Ilyun spots the shaft warning behind them, and the trio runs toward the original rupture before command can close the net. Shaft 7 opens, and a compact collar skitters out across the wet tile. It is Bureau custody made portable, hunting Daejoon low and fast. Ilyun sees it first and shoves him aside. Sera smashes the device, but one severed band catches the ID lanyard instead of his neck and drags him down the corridor. Bureau force pulls from behind, while the breach road glows ahead under the mop cart. Daejoon crashes into his mop cart, and the spilled dirty water reflects the gouged core below the floor. The system finds a transfer path through two unwanted things already attached to him: the Bureau's custody band and the breach shard, but it requires a voluntary bite. Daejoon makes the choice his way. He bites his own lanyard fabric, not the magic, keeping his hands clear while Sera blocks the band from climbing, and Ilyun records every second. The bite does not come from his teeth. It erupts from the shard hand into the water reflection, fraying the custody band into ash and making the wounded core shudder beneath the building. The floor opens, but only as a narrow black-violet trench, a route under the plan rather than a collapse through it. Kwon sees Daejoon interfering with her claim and orders host first, core second. Junmo captures the order, and suddenly rescue looks exactly like evidence theft with better paperwork. At the trench edge, Daejoon finally sees the shape of the last choice. The system offers targets: the core's hunger, the core shell, or the host body. None are clean. Sera makes him translate danger into practical terms: direction, width, casualties. Ilyun keeps recording even through static. That is the difference between this moment and the Bureau's version of containment. Daejoon's power wants appetite. His allies demand limits. Kwon sends another custody route through the conduits, but the earlier damage keeps it from forming a perfect ring. Junmo advances through the lobby with the host first order visible, turning her command decisions into evidence. In B3, the tiles snap upward around the mop cart as Bureau seals chase the trench. Daejoon stops waiting for permission. He grabs the cart that started this nightmare, swings into the hostile tunnel, and chooses the route no department has written yet. Under the floor, the story becomes cramped and immediate. Daejoon crawls first through black-violet space beneath the tiles. Ilyun follows with the recording tablet held above the grime, and Sera seals the rear with a shield that is nearly done surviving. White Bureau filaments crawl along the pipes after them. With almost no reservoir left, Daejoon removes only a fingernail-width strip from one filament, proving again that the narrow bite is not just safer, it is who he is choosing to be. The severed filament snaps back hard enough to crack Kwon's feed, and the trench opens into a vertical shaft beneath the original rupture. Below them hangs the B3 core, gouged and pulsing like a wounded heart. The system makes the temptation explicit: devour the full core and likely collapse the building, or take only the hunger thread and survive with less reward. Daejoon understands the math instantly. The greedy option kills the room, and the room contains his people. Kwon tries to seal the witness audio, but Junmo reaches the rupture mouth with a duplicated feed and makes silence impossible. That does not make him safe, only useful. In the shaft, Sera gives Daejoon a shield platform. Ilyun anchors him without turning the lanyard into a restraint, and the core lashes upward. Daejoon reaches past the shield with 2 fingers and touches the thin black hunger thread inside the violet shell. Not the shell, not the building, not them. The narrow bite works, and the price arrives immediately. The hunger thread disappears, the reservoir hits 0, and the system asks for Daejoon's body as payment. He refuses that too. Sera braces against the pipes and hauls him upward by the vest, while Ilyun clings to the anchor and repeats the only classification that matters: witness, alive. Then the shard in Daejoon's palm cracks instead of taking the people around him, and the larger core folds inward into a small sealed crescent. When the violet light drains from the original rupture, Everyone above understands that the core is no longer available to claim. Junmo's observer feed is saved, the officers hesitate, and Kwan's displays go blank where custody used to be. Sera drags Daejoon back onto real tile, with Ilyun still recording beside him. Junmo offers the kind of rescue that comes with a guild price tag, but Sera puts herself between him and the exhausted janitor before that offer can become another leash. Daejoon raises his ruined palm, where everyone can see the quiet crescent left behind. He refuses Kwan's evidence label and refuses Silver Ladder's miracle pitch in the same breath. Ilyun's record keeps him named as a survivor. Sera forces extraction without transfer, and Junmo steps back because tonight's refusal is public. By pre-dawn, the bureau lobby is white-lit, tense, and full of witnesses. Daejoon walks out unowned, still filthy, still responsible, and carrying one private system prompt no one else can see. Cleanup remains.